The NFL postseason is finally here. It's that time of the season. It's my favorite time of the year. So I'm going to give you guys my predictions on each individual game in the Super Wildcard Weekend 6 games. The rest of our team's picks are up on our social medias at Sports Unfolded Pod, Jay, Eli, and Taylor's predictions. So let's start off with our first game of the weekend, Bengals hosting the Raiders, all right? This is a very, very interesting game. Neither team has won a playoff game in 20 years. So we're going to see, obviously, a new team that hasn't been here in a while. Neither of these teams have playoff experience. So it's going to be interesting to see, are these teams going to be sloppy coming out? This is a really hard game to predict. You know, young quarterback making his first start in the playoffs versus a veteran eighth-year quarterback who also has never started in the postseason. These are two teams that nobody expected to be here before the season, to be quite frankly. If you weren't a Bengals or a Vegas fan, you did not expect either of these teams to be in this position. So let's talk about the matchup. The Bengals are a very, very explosive offense, as we know. Joe Burrow's thrown for, a country mile. He's thrown for, not even exaggerating, 1,000 yards in his past two starts. It's insane. That trio of receivers they have could possibly be the best in the league, and it's only going to get better as time goes on. But we're just talking about this year. So my score prediction is Bengals 33, Raiders 27. I just think, going back to what I just said, there are too many weapons on this Bengals offense for this Raiders secondary to cover. I don't think they have enough corners. They don't have as deep of a secondary to cover these guys. The Bengals are 7-1 when they score more than 25 points, which is a stat that I think could play a real key role into this game. The Bengals, this is a Vegas defense that isn't that great. It's really been the offense and their clutch performances that have prevailed them to 10 wins. So I think the Bengals are going to score over 25 and win this game, quite frankly. But one thing to look forward to for the Raiders side of it, the Raiders are 6-0 when the game is decided on a last second play or an overtime. That's something to look forward to. Or if you're a Raiders fan, that's something to look out for. If this game really comes down to the wire, honestly, I might trust the Raiders in Carr. He's been in this league longer. Again, a very young Bengals team. But I'm going to take the Bengals. I'm going to take the Bengals 33-27 in a high-scoring affair. Cincinnati at home. I think the points are going to be really close. I believe it's Cincinnati favored by 5. It could go either way in terms of the spread. But I like the Bengals 33-27. Let's talk Patriots-Bills. This is the Saturday night game. I have a very different perspective than a lot of people on this game. And you can probably tell where I'm going with this. The last time New England lost on the road in the playoffs was to Peyton Manning. It was to Peyton Manning. A lot of that's due to the fact that they're usually not on the road during the playoffs. But they've beaten Patrick Mahomes on the road in the playoffs. They had to have some tough games in the postseason on the road, even with Tom Brady. Now they don't have Tom Brady, so it's a little different. But they still have the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick, in my opinion. So when you do a little coaching comparison here, Bill Belichick is 31-11 in the postseason. 31-11. He wins 75% of his postseason games. Sean McDermott is 2-3, and he's young. 2-3 is not a terrible postseason record by any means. But he lost to Doug Marrone in the Jaguars in 2017, lost to Bill O'Brien in the Texans in 2019. He beat the Colts in Phillip Rivers' last game. Phillip Rivers, a very old, fragile version of the young Phillip Rivers. And he beat the Ravens without Lamar for the fourth quarter, a game that I think could have gone very, very differently. And they were outgained in terms of yardage in that game. And then they got killed by Andy Reid and the Chiefs the game after that. So Sean McDermott has not had an impressive resume with these Bills in the postseason in his 5-year tenure in Buffalo. Now, that being said, what's one thing that you guys know about me? If you've heard one of these and you know me consistently, one thing I like to say is it's a quarterback league, which it is. And I said before that the better quarterbacks are going to make a better postseason run. And yes, Josh Allen is better than Mac Jones, right? But Josh Allen, in my opinion, has been one of the more overrated quarterbacks this year. And it's not really an opinionated thing. It's a statistical algorithm. Josh Allen is tied for the second most interceptions in the league this year at 15. He hasn't been a very impressive quarterback this year. I mean, 2 weeks ago, he had a passer rating of 17 versus the Atlanta Falcons. So, you take a playoff game where Belichick wins 75% of his games. I think you are going to be shocked about what's going to happen Saturday. I think the Patriots squeeze this one out in Buffalo, 23-21. I mean, cold weather, who knows what. It could be negative 10 degrees. I like the Patriots, run the ball, play defense scheme over the Bills. Let's chuck it to Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. I like the Patriots scheme better in January weather. I like Bill Belichick better in January than Sean McDermott. Again, Josh Allen's the better quarterback, but this year he hasn't been the more efficient quarterback, to be honest. Mac Jones has not been playing good ball lately, but either is Josh Allen, obviously. He has 15 interceptions, so Josh Allen hasn't been an elite quarterback this year. He hasn't. Don't let the media lie to you. I got Patriots by 2. All right, Sunday games. Eagles at Tampa Bay. This is a game that I think is very deceiving. A lot of the media thinks Philadelphia can pull this one off. And let me go off on a tangent first. A lot of people in my comments on social media and whatnot, and even that have heard me talk about the Eagles on here, have really criticized me for being, overly... I'm a Cowboys fan, right? So they're going to hear me and they're going to think that I'm being very overcritical on these Eagles. And I'm not. I think I'm fair with what I say about everyone in the NFL. I think the Eagles have a very bright future. Nick Sirianni has really impressed me this year. I did not think they would be in the postseason at this point. I thought they would be a 4 or 5 win team, and I admit that I was wrong. In Philadelphia, I'm going to be honest, I think y'all can beat us in the division next year. I really do. Y'all have 3 first-round picks next year. That being said, they are 1-7 versus teams with winning records this year. And that one win is because the Saints beat the Falcons last week, and they're now 9-8. They're 0-7 versus playoff teams, or 0-6 because the Chargers aren't in the playoffs anymore. Either way, it doesn't matter. They haven't beaten a single good opponent, and I don't think this game's going to be close. I think the Bucs win 34-13. They already played this year, and Tampa was up 21 late in the third in Philadelphia. And all I hear is, the Eagles can run it down Tampa's throat. I believe that they can milk this clock and get the ball out of Brady's hand and beat a Buccaneers team on the road. I don't think that's going to happen. When they played the first time, the Eagles only had 100 yards rushing on the dot. Don't get it twisted. Tom Brady's 23-7 at home in the playoffs. I think the Bucs roll. But Eagles, don't you be critical of me, because I'm not going to be too critical of you. You guys have a bright future. All right, 49ers at Cowboys. This is the one I'm excited for. Again, this is something that don't let the media get it twisted for you. The Cowboys are favorites for a reason. When I go to other pages and I look at their predictions, I think 90% of people have predicted the Niners to win this game. And I kind of expected that because you, the viewer, the consumer, the listener, you probably hate the Cowboys. Everybody hates the Cowboys except for Cowboys fans. So when you see a game that could be a toss-up and you're like, all the home teams are favored this week, so there's going to be an upset somewhere. You know what? I don't like Dallas. I think the Niners have a chance. I'm going to give the upset of the week to the Niners. So I fully expect that. But that's the narrative, that the Niners are going to be your upset of the week. Here's some stuff that really is key in playoff games. The Niners have 13 players on the injury report. The Cowboys have 7. The Cowboys only had 1 player that did not practice. I'm looking at the Wednesday scouting report or practice report, and that's Nashawn Wright, who barely even touches the field for Dallas. The Niners had, I believe, 7 or 8 players who did not practice, including Trent Williams, I believe Nick Bosa, Jimmy G, George Kittle, a lot of their big name players. And a big reason for that is the Cowboys starters got a whole quarter off last Saturday. They had a comfortable lead in Philadelphia. They knew that they needed to play at least half their starters to just get some confidence brewing into the playoffs. And they did. They took care of business against Philadelphia, and they got their starters at least a quarter rest, right? The 49ers had to play every bit. They had to give every ounce of shedding tears and blood and everything to beat the Rams to even make the postseason last week. Every bit of regulation plus 8 minutes in overtime to win that game. The 49ers were exhausted after that game. because they had to give everything to even have a chance to be in this game. And the Cowboys have also had an extra day of rest. The Cowboys played Saturday, the 49ers played Sunday. Tyron Smith, Micah Parsons, Trevon Diggs, Anthony Brown, Tony Pollard, and Jaron Curse all didn't play for Dallas. Those are 6 really, really key starters for Dallas. 49ers had to pull all their cards out to even make the postseason. So when you look at that, Dallas is the fresher team. I like Dallas 31-23 in this game. I think it's going to be more of a high scoring kind of a game. But Jimmy Garoppolo, when he throws an interception, the 49ers are 2-6 this season, and Dallas just happens to force turnovers. They have the most interceptions in the league this year. I like Dallas 31-23. All right, Sunday night, Steelers at Chiefs. The Chiefs already dominated them 3 weeks ago in every aspect: offense, defense, special teams, coaching. You name it, they absolutely demolished Pittsburgh. But Big Ben's not going to go out easy, okay? The Steelers are 3-5 on the road this year. So obviously they're not a good road team. They're a team that's thrived at home this year. So that's a little concerning for Pittsburgh. But like I just said, Big Ben's not going to go out easy. No legend, no Hall of Famer goes out easy on their last game. And this is going to be Big Ben's last game if they lose. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl in his last game. Let's look at some others. Phillip Rivers took the 2-seed Bills last year to the last second. Drew Brees last year, he went out in a back-and-forth fourth-quarter game with Tom Brady. So Big Ben, he's going to give it all. I mean, he realizes if he loses, and by the way, whatever y'all saw in the press conference where he said we don't have a chance, that was sarcasm. Don't get it twisted. I've seen a lot of comments flaming Big Ben for that, but no, he was being sarcastic and trying to motivate his team. But back on track, I think the Chiefs win this game 30-20. I think the Steelers are going to hang in this game for a while, but at the end of the day, we saw them play the first time. The Chiefs are just a better all-around team in Arrowhead. You know, Patrick Mahomes is 6-0 in the playoffs when he doesn't play a guy named Tom Brady. I like the Chiefs by 10. All right, maybe the most interesting game for me, Cardinals at Rams on Monday night. First Monday night playoff game, maybe ever. Now that we have 6 playoff games every season. So, interestingly enough, the Cardinals are 8-1 on the road. 8-1. I can't explain it. I mean, I remember the 2014 Cowboys, they were 8-0 on the road and 4-4 at home. It's just something you can't explain, right? Something else you can't explain. The 49ers beat the Rams last week. The Rams were probably the hottest team in the league, if not one of the most hottest teams in the league, heading into last Sunday before they lost in overtime to San Francisco. They had won 5 straight. They were 12-4. The Rams are still red hot. Don't get it twisted. The 49ers, here's one of the weirdest things in sports. I have no explanation to how San Francisco beat the Rams. I don't. It's just some teams have other teams' number. It's just a weird thing about sports. I don't know how it works. The 49ers have beaten the Rams the last 6 times when you can argue that the Rams have been the better team in maybe all 6 of those games. It's just weird. The Seahawks swept the Niners this year. Well, the Seahawks aren't a better team than San Fran. The Saints swept the Bucks each of the last 2 seasons in the regular season. The Saints aren't a better team than the Bucks. Alabama had beaten Georgia, it seemed like 100 straight times until Monday night when Georgia had the better roster a lot of those matchups. It's just some teams have other teams' number. It's one of the weird things about sports that makes sports awesome. But that being said, the Cardinals don't have the Rams number like the 49ers do. I think this is going to be a very close game. I expect the Rams to come out how they did in that 5-game winning streak. And I think this is going to be a close game because the Cardinals are, for some reason, terrific on the road, but likely no D-Hop or J.J. Watt, not enough playmakers for the Cardinals. I think the Rams win 27-25. I just trust Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford in a close game more than Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, who are each making their playoff debuts. Because also one of the key things here is Matthew Stafford is probably the guy with the most pressure on him this weekend. And I said coming into the season that Matthew Stafford has the most pressure of anybody in the league because he's 33 and you have a Rams team that's going to trade away their young quarterback and 2 first-round draft picks for you. That's some high expectations. That's some really high expectations for a guy that's never won a playoff game. So now Matthew Stafford is put up to the test, and I think he's going to make it past round 1. And then if he does, I'll reevaluate with his opponent in round 2. So thank you guys for sticking around, and I'm sure you guys disagree with me on some of these picks, but thanks for sticking to the end.